All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our new stylist training Zoom. It is Tuesday, March 5th. I had to think about that for a second. I am so lost with the days. I am Amy Hendricks, a director in Eugene, Oregon, and we're just now getting over like our Eugene snowpocalypse. So I'm like, I don't know what day it is. I don't know where I am. I'm overcoming a cold. So if I like fumble my words and miss something and forget something, forgive me. I'll figure a way to make it up to you. So tonight we're going to talk about some new stylist training stuff. So I have Teresa and Amber on. Now, Amber, remind me, how long have you been a stylist for?
Since the beginning of February, end of January.
Okay. So you guys are both just outside your Quickstart and just starting the next half of your Jumpstart, which is perfect because that's kind of what I'm going to talk about today. There's no need for me to talk about the first 30 days because we're already past that. I'm going to take my glasses off, even though I'm not going to be able to see. The glare is driving me nuts. This is how blind I am. I cannot see my face. I'm so close to the computer and I cannot see my face, but it doesn't matter. I don't need to see for this. Okay, so we just finished our Quick Start, which is the first 30 days of being a stylist, and we're now moving into the next phase of our Jumpstart, which is super exciting because now you have at least one, hopefully a couple trunk shows under your belt, maybe some outside sales, having some booking conversations, maybe even some sponsoring conversations. So what I want to talk about is promoting within your Jumpstart and how important that is and how easy it is and how it's just so much more fun. So I know a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to build a team. I don't know enough to have all these people do this with me. Trust me, you don't have to know anything to bring along a friend because everything in life is so much more fun with a friend, especially Stella. So bringing along someone to do this with you is really easy and really fun because you both have amazing uplines. So you both have uplines that are willing and able to help you train whoever you bring along as a friend to do this with you. But you also are going to learn so much more about the business when you're doing this with somebody else. I will tell you, I waited a really long time when I first signed up to be a stylist before I sponsored someone because I felt like I had to know everything. And I felt like I couldn't sponsor anybody if I didn't know everything there was to know about this business. And I will tell you, almost 5 years later, I still don't know everything that there is to know about this business, but that's why we have such a great lounge and website, and we have great training tools that you don't have to know everything. It's all right there for you to hand off to your new stylists and everybody else. But I waited a really long time before I sponsored someone. By the time I sponsored them, I knew enough about the company that I could answer every single one of their questions. So anytime they had a question, I had the answer for them right then and there. And so to them, my job did not seem duplicatable because they're like, well, I can't sponsor anybody because I don't know everything like Amy knows. So I'm not gonna sponsor anybody else. So I kind of did my new stylists a disservice by knowing everything and by telling them the answers to everything. So there's something to be said about not knowing all the answers, and instead of giving them the answers, giving them the tools to find the answers. So if you ever ask me a question and you text it to me and I don't respond right away, sometimes that's on purpose. So if I ever ignore your text messages and you're like, I think you're not responding, sometimes I'm going to give you a little bit to see if you can figure it out on your own. And most of the time, you figure it out on your own. And by the time I message you, maybe an hour later, say, hey, were you able to figure it out? Most of the time, you have figured it out. And by going and figuring it out by yourself, you've already learned a couple new things within the business. Does that make sense? Have you experienced that with me before? Probably. So don't be afraid to bring along somebody thinking that you can't do it if you don't know everything. Trust me, you don't have to know everything. All you need to know is that it costs either $99 or $199 to sign up. They either get to pick 500 in whatever they want, or they get 1,000 in bestsellers. And from there, we'll help them get started. I kind of always tell people, we'll see how the first 30, 60, 90 days goes. After that, we'll see if it's a good fit. It's not the end of the world if it's not. It's totally risk-free. We're not going to take your jewelry away if it doesn't work out and if you decide you don't like it. So it's a really easy way to just kind of jump in and see what you think. So if you have a list of people that you're thinking about bringing along to do this with you, I highly recommend reaching out to them and just saying something as simple as like, oh, I started this thing with Stella and Dot. It's super fun. I think you might like to do it with me. Do you want to hear anything more about it? And just leaving it at that and seeing what they say. So one of the biggest perks about bringing along a friend in your Jumpstart is promoting to associate stylist and all of the benefits that you get with doing that. And I probably should have written all this stuff down, but I don't have it all written down. So let me see if I can look it up real quick. When you bring along a friend to do this with you in your Jumpstart, so in your first 60 days, what's really cool about that is you have until the end of your Jumpstart month to promote to associate stylist. So if let's say your Jumpstart ends on, March 20th, you actually have until March 31st to hit associate stylist to get all these amazing bonuses. So there's cash bonuses and there's also product credit bonuses. I think it's like $800 in product credit for promoting to associate stylist. And the requirements for associate stylists, let me pull them up because they didn't just change them. They changed them long enough ago that I can't remember what they are. So it is, oh shoot, hold on. This is what happens when I don't come on super prepared. It doesn't matter. We'll look it up later. I can text it to you guys later. So I think it's like 750 in personal sales. It's maybe 1,000 in personal sales. And then the person that you sponsor has to sell at least 500. And then as a group, I think it's $2,000 between the two of you. So you can sell $2,000 on your own and you can bring some along. And as long as they sell their minimum of $500, you can promote to associate stylist and you get cash bonus, you get a product credit bonus, and then you get this really cool like leadership bracelet and you start the first level of leadership. So the next part that I want to talk about is all the product credit that you can earn in your Jumpstart. So we've talked about what happens when you, in your first 30 days, when you sell your $1,000, you get a bonus $100, and then you start to earn 10% in product credit on everything that you sell over that. So after your 30 days, whether you sold your $1,000 in the first 30 days or not, you will still earn 10% back in product credit, everything over $1,000 that you sell. So if you haven't quite sold your $1,000 yet, that's okay. You can still get there and still earn product credit the more you sell. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay. Because Amber, I think you hit your Quickstart, correct?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, you hit your Quickstart, and Tracy, you're super close. So Amber, you'll earn 10% back in product credit on everything that you sell from here on out till the end of your Jumpstart. And then Teresa, as soon as you sell that 1,000, you'll start earning that 10% back in product credit too. So it doesn't, you're muted.
Sorry.
That's okay.
So can I ask a question really quick?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's $1,000, like all in all. It's not just like per trunk show $1,000. It's added all together.
Yep. So
Okay.
your Jumpstart is from the day you sign up, 60 days after that. So the day you sign up is day 1, and the end of your Jumpstart is day 60. So it's however much you sell in that 60 days.
Yeah, I
so
am.
Usually, yeah. So how we get paid every month, all of our dashboards go back to 0 the first of the month. So like everybody goes back to being a stylist, and all of our sales and everything go back to 0. But your Jumpstart is totally separate. They calculate everything that you've sold over the last 60 days.
Okay.
And all of that goes into earning however much product credit you can get from there. Does that make sense?
Yes, got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you guys have any questions so far?
No,
About either of those things? No? Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is booking more shows and kind of overcoming some objections and some no's. Have you guys gotten any objections when reaching out to people about bookings?
My friends just kind of put me through the ringer. That's what they like
Oh,
to
yeah?
do. They're like, yeah, I'll do it. Oh, but I'm not sure when. Oh, yeah, that day sounds great. And then they never get back to me with times. And so that's kind of, I've just been hounding them, like, but in a, not a mean hounding, but
In a good way.
hounding kind of way.
Yeah. So I will tell you, one of the things that I've learned over the years is if you put the ball in their court, you'll never get the ball back. So the ball has to always be in our court, and we always have to lead with dates and times and everything else. Otherwise, our friends are way too indecisive. One of the worst, the worst things I hear from people is, let me talk to my friends and I'll get back to you. That's like the kiss of death, because what's going to happen is she's going to go to 10 of her friends and she's going to ask them all. And probably 9 of them are going to be like, I don't really know. That doesn't really sound like fun. So then she's not going to want to host, because if she thinks her friends aren't going to come and don't think it sounds fun, then she doesn't want to do it either. Because if her friends don't think it's cool, then she's not going to think it's cool. So usually what I tell them is, you know what, actually what I have found that works best is if we pick a date that works best for you and your schedule, and we tell your friends you're having a show, they will come. But if you go ask them, you're going to get 10 different responses and it's just going to be too overwhelming. So let's pick a date that works for you and then we'll go from there. And I would say 9 times out of 10, I get like, oh yeah, you're totally right. Okay, let's pick a date that works for me. So what I like to do when I'm reaching out to people about booking shows is the first thing I do is I ask them if they're weekend or weeknight people. So I'll say, like, are you and your girlfriends weekend get-togethers or are you weeknight get-togethers? Because like most of my mom friends, they want to get together on the weekends. Like they want to do something on a Sunday when their husband's home, they have someone to watch the kids and they can get out and go do something. Most of my girlfriends that work full time, they want to do something on a Thursday night because it's close enough to the weekend, but it's also something to look forward to during the week that they can do. So I always ask them that question first. Are you a weekend or weeknight person? And whatever they tell me, then I will offer them 2 dates that I have available. Because if I tell them like, oh, my month is totally free, when do you want to do it? They're not going to pick a date at all. They're going to be too, like, if you give them 31 options, they're not going to pick one. So I'll say, okay, you guys are your weeknight people. Okay, what about Tuesday the 5th or Thursday the 7th? Which one works for you? And most of the time, if they say no to either one of those dates, then I will ask, like, is it those specific dates that don't work, or is it the weeknight that doesn't work? Is it Tuesday nights and Thursday nights that don't work, or is it just like the 5th and the 7th that doesn't work? And then sometimes they'll come back and be like, well, Tuesdays don't work because my son has basketball, and Thursday the 7th, I have a work meeting or something. So then I'll come back and I'll give them 2 other dates, and I try to do it within 10 to 14 days. If I do it any farther out from that, it gets really complicated because people forget or other things come up in the meantime. And so I try to book it within 10 to 14 days. So if she says no to the first 2 dates, then I'll offer her 2 more dates that are again within that time frame. And most of the time, women don't like to say no to 2 things in a row. So she'll probably say yes to one of those. If she says no to one of those, to the next 2 dates, again, I'll say, okay, is it the day that doesn't work, or is it just that specific date that I gave you that doesn't work? So I'm trying to give her specific nights and specific times that work for her. Is that what you're doing when you're reaching out to them, Amber?
It is. My issue right now, like specifically, I have my cousin. She said that she'll do a show, and she's even given me a date. And then I'm like, okay, what time and where? Because I'm gonna make us a show page.
You have to
like,
tell her.
Tell her what time?
You have to tell her. Yep.
Yep. The thing is, she lives in a different city, so I'm going over there.
So you definitely have to tell her. If you're traveling to her, then you definitely have to tell her. So in that case, I would say, okay, so since you live 2 hours away, let's do the show at 7. Does that work for you? And see what she says. And if she says, no, 7 doesn't work, that's too late, say like, okay, well, the earliest I can probably get there is whatever time works for you. Because you have to remember, this has to work on your schedule too. You're doing her a favor, not the other way around. So you're giving her the opportunity to host, and you're giving her the opportunity to get hundreds and free and half off. So this has to work around your schedule, not just her schedule. Because again, like I said, if you give her 31 days of options and unlimited hours of time to do the show, she's not going to pick one. So how far away does she live?
She lives about a half an hour away. She lives in Grants Pass.
Okay. So what have you talked about? A weekday or a weeknight?
We're actually going to do it on a Saturday. We have the Saturday picked. It's just getting that time and place nailed down.
Yeah.
Because
what Saturday is it?
It's the 16th.
Okay. So I would reach out to her tomorrow and say, hey, I'm working on my schedule. I'd really like to figure out what time we're going to do this. does 4 o'clock work for you? Or whatever time works for you. So I always kind of give myself, I want to get there at least a half an hour before the show starts, and then obviously like calculate in travel time, and then whatever time you have to get home. Again, it always takes about half an hour to clean up and usually 20 minutes to say goodbye and everything else. But it always takes a little bit longer to clean up and get out. But figure out a time that works for you since you're the one that's traveling, and tell her what time you want to do it and see if, and I always say, does that work for you? Like, I'm thinking we do this at 4 o'clock. Does that work for you? And if she says, no, that's too late, then it kind of gives you somewhere to gauge about what to offer her next as far as time goes. Does that seem helpful?
Yeah.
Yay. Okay, Teresa, do you have any right now?
Well, it's funny because I think I watched your thing about the whole snowpocalypse. We're supposed to do one that Thursday with one of my girlfriends. And so obviously that got postponed. So now I was just talking to her earlier today. So we're trying to come up with a time in March before the month ends. It's her birthday coming up. So it's just, trying to, we want to do it on a Saturday. So it's just a matter of her finding childcare for her friends. And then my mom wants to host one. So we're thinking April with all her girlfriends. So it's a lot of these potentials. And then one of my other friends also, she thinks Sundays was work. So it's just nailing down, these dates and times. And I'm supposed to be starting this basketball thing potentially on Sunday. So I'm trying to make sure it's all going to work. So lots of potentials, nothing nailed down, but I'm confident in those three for sure that they'll happen. It's just a matter of figuring out the time and the date.
Okay, good. One of the things I would say is whenever you have someone that's wanting a weekend trunk show, there are very limited weekends. Like, we pretty much only have a couple weekends in a month. So it always seems like we have a lot of time to book these weekend shows, but like most months you have 4 weekends. I think March we have 5. I think we have 5 weekends in March. But even still, that's not that many. So I always try to kind of like hold those top priority and like really nail down those shows and say, like, because everybody likes something that seems exclusive. And so if your weekend trunk show times are exclusive and like very limited, I kind of tell people that, like, okay, so we only have, I only have 2 Saturdays available this month. Do you want the 16th or do you want the 20th or 20th, whatever? Which one do you want? Because if you only have a couple available, then they're more inclined to like snag it up and book it. The same goes, months down the road. With the trunk show with your mom, is there a reason why you're waiting till April?
Well, just with we've got family coming into town and staying here, like my nieces and stuff. So it's just going to be super chaotic. So we were talking about it the other night. And so she thinks that like the very beginning of April, because she has certain friends that she really wants to come. And I mean, we've been kind of nailing down a list because I'd love for it to be a even like a bigger one with a lot of, her friends and stuff. And so, yeah, that's kind of that dilemma a little bit.
The family that's coming into town, is it family that would shop?
Well, no, they're just it's not my sister-in-law. She would, but she's not coming. It's my brother and then his 3 girls. So they're just kind of too young to even, be into it. Yeah.
I will say the nice thing about, especially moms. So my mom, it's funny. She doesn't wear a ton of jewelry. She has like the same stone dot pieces that she wears over and over and over again. But she hosts for me about 3 or 4 times a year because her friends like to shop. And it's always nice because it's an easy trunk show for me to do. I can just say, Mom, I need you to host a trunk show for me. And she'll throw in together with her girlfriends. And she doesn't necessarily need the jewelry and need to shop. But with people like our moms and our close friends that are supporting our business, they can host as many times as they want. So like she could host in March and she could host again in April and she could host again in July and she could host again in September if she wants to. So even if you're waiting to get like a certain
everybody
in her house, I wouldn't worry about that too much because again, just like what we were talking about with like, oh, well, let me check with my friends first. It's going to be really hard to find a date where she's going to be able to get all of her friends over. So maybe picking a date like as soon as the family leaves.
Yeah, that's true. I guess the 60 days would end by then. So I didn't really think about that. So maybe like you're saying, doing a weeknight because there's only so many weekends in this month. So that
and she could even, because a trunk show. So once you Whatever date you set a trunk show for, it's open for 2 weeks after that date. So if you open a trunk show today, it's open for 2 more weeks. And you don't necessarily only have to hold the trunk show today. So she could potentially have a trunk show on Thursday, a weeknight, and then the following Saturday, she could have another show under the same trunk show link.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's open for
mine.
2. Yeah, it's open for 2 weeks. So it's just a link that they can shop. It would just be the invite would say a certain date. So you could just tell people like, okay, we're doing, 2 dates. We're doing Thursday the 7th and we're doing Saturday the 16th.
Oh, okay.
So you could potentially do 2 trunk, or you could do more than that, or you could do it online and you could do it in person. So there's plenty of times when I've done that, when I've done a trunk show for people.
On mine.
Yeah.
And then doing it online as well. And that was how I ended up hitting my Jumpstart, was by doing the 3 shows and then also online.
Because I'm sure.
So when you say online, what does that mean?
Just having an online trunk show, doing it through Facebook, or just sharing the link through email or whatever. Just for people to shop it, because they don't have to be in person to shop the trunk show. So like, even if they can't, like, let's say they can't come, they can still shop it online.
And I had a few of those. Okay, so that's what you mean. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So you could potentially do that with your mom. You could hold 2, 3 multiples of one trunk show link.
Yeah.
Everyone's able to come to the night that you want to do it.
Okay. You have to talk to her about that. That's good to know, to keep in mind. Yeah,
especially with your Jumpstart ending, you'll want to get as many trunk shows in before that. And especially with it being your mom, you can tell her like, okay, this is the end of my Jumpstart where I can earn free product. I want to do it before then. So maybe booking it a couple days before the Jumpstart ends. So then any last minute online orders you can get from there. So, okay, do you guys have any other questions? Anything you want to ask or go over, or words to say?
No, I can't think of anything. I feel like this was helpful for sure.
Yeah. So last thing I kind of wanted to go over was, I guess I could have done this earlier, but like what to say when you're reaching out to people about joining and doing this with you. So the biggest thing that I have found is keeping it really simple. So I always kind of joke that I wish I could go back and kind of unknow all the things that I do know, because it's really hard to not share all the things that I know, because it gets really overwhelming. Because once you get into the business a little bit, you know how great the Quickstart is, and you know how great the Jumpstart is, and how you can promote and do all these things. But when you're talking to somebody about signing up and doing this with you, that is really overwhelming and can kind of turn people off. When I first started talking to people, 5 years ago about signing up and doing this with me, I definitely like word vomited all over their faces and totally scared them from signing up, because I talked too much and I said too many things instead of asking them really simple questions. So I kind of have like 5 little easy tips on how to sponsor and how to make it seem like really easy and not so scary. And so, like I was just saying, the first tip is to keep it really, really simple. Just saying, like, I started this thing with Stall and App, and it's really fun. I think you'd like it too. Like, there's no quotas. You can do as much or as little as you want every month. I think it'd be fun to do together. Like, what do you think? Do you want to hear any more about it? And then seeing what they say. Because a lot of the times they're like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Are you Stella? Like, what? Do you make this jewelry? I don't know what you're talking about. So just opening up that door of like, I think you should do this with me. It'd be super fun. It's really easy. Like, it's just jewelry. Like, I can do stuff online. I can do it in person. I think you'd like it too. And not saying too much about it. And also not being afraid to share it with everybody and anybody. I will say the times that I sponsor are times that I'm talking about sponsoring a lot. The times that I don't sponsor is when I don't talk about it to very many people. So we kind of always give the booking rule is like you reach out to 10 to book 1. It's the same with sponsoring, but I would say it's more than that. Like you need to reach out to like 15 to get one person to say, oh, maybe, like, I don't know, you can share a little bit more with me. I don't know. So having, and it sounds like a lot and it's always really overwhelming, but like having 100 sponsoring conversations, it doesn't have to be like crazy conversations, but just like offering up the opportunity and saying, I was thinking about this and I thought you might like it. It's really fun. I think we might enjoy doing it together. To 100 different people. I mean, think about how many people would maybe say yes and how many people that you think would say no and might say yes. I always kind of think back to like, especially where my life is 5 years after doing Stella and Dot. And it sounds so corny, but like I can imagine where my life would be if I wasn't doing Stella and Dot. And so think about that for other people. Like, who out there do you think whose life could be changed by just offering up this fun little jewelry side gig? So keeping it simple, offering it to everybody. I always like to ask people, like, what has you excited about doing Stella and Dot? What kind of motivates you to do this? Because if they're motivated by money, but you didn't ask them that, and you're talking about all the free jewelry, they're like, well, I don't give a shit about free jewelry. I don't care about jewelry, I just care about money. Maybe they care about the jewelry and they don't care about money. When I signed up, I didn't care about money. I didn't care about how much money I could make. I wanted to get out of the house. I didn't even care about the jewelry. I actually didn't even care about any of that. I just wanted to get out of the house away from my kid for 5 minutes and not feel bad about it. So asking them, like, what has you excited about doing Stella and Dot? And in the reverse, it's okay to ask them, like, what has you kind of like nervous or scared about doing Stella and Dot? Because sometimes that really helps people to sign up and kind of gives them the okay to sign up. Answering those questions, because a lot of times it might be something like, I'm not good at sales. I'm like, well, that's good, because I'm not either, and that's not at all what this job is. Like, I'm a terrible salesperson. Anyone that tells me no, I'm like, okay, sorry to bother you, bye. So it's not about sales, and a lot of people think it is. Like, you lay out pretty sparkly jewelry and the women just kind of flock to it. Like, it has, sales has nothing to do with it. It's a cute product and people like it, and I just help people find something that they love. I'm never going to push something on someone that I don't think that they would love. So figuring out what excites them and motivates them to do so and that, and on the flip side, asking them like what scares them and what has them nervous. I also like to ask them kind of like what their why would be. Like, why do you think you would like to do this? Like, once you start talking to them and they seem really interested about joining, asking them what their why is, because it might be different than what excites them. Like, oh, I really, really like the jewelry. And then once you get talking to them, they might say like, oh, I want to quit my job someday. Or like, we're building a house and I want to pay for some upgrades. Or I want to make a $200 student loan payment every month. So figuring out kind of like their why behind it and what drives them forward is really helpful too. And then the last thing I always like to kind of go with, and I get this a lot where they seem really interested, we've talked about it a lot, I've kind of given them all the information and they still haven't really signed up. It's okay to say, what's stopping you? Like, what's stopping you from signing up today? Because a lot of times it's something as simple as like, well, I'm not going to fail. Or like, I don't think my husband's on board. And then you can kind of talk them through like, okay, well, what's going on there? Like, why don't you think your husband's on board? Or maybe they don't have the 99 or 199 to sign up. And then you can talk to them about the zero financing with PayPal. And you can get 0% financing for like, I think it's like 60 days or something if you sign up using PayPal, which is pretty cool. I just learned about that like 2 weeks ago. No idea that was even a thing. So don't be afraid to talk to people about sponsoring and about doing this with you. It's a lot simpler than it sounds. Sometimes I like to start with the sponsoring conversation and then kind of work my way down, because it's harder to talk to people about a trunk show and then be like, oh yeah, do you want to do this? If you start with the sponsoring conversation and they say no, you can say like, okay, well, I'd love to, like, what do you think about hosting? Like, you can get hundreds for free and half off. You can kind of see what it's about. And if they say no to that, then they're like, okay, well, what about these earrings? I think these earrings would look great on you. And they might say yes. But sometimes it's easier to start with the hardest conversation and work your way down and work your way backwards. So do you guys have any questions about talking to people about sponsoring or bringing along a friend?
No.
Not seem so scary. So the biggest thing is none of you guys are alone when sponsoring. Like I said in the beginning, like, you have your upline, you have your upline's upline, you have everybody in the team to help you. If you have questions, there's tons of answers in the lounge. Again, it kind of helps you to learn more about the business, and you have someone that you're kind of teaching about the business too. So it makes it a little bit easier to learn and go from there. So, okay. Sarah, hi. Do you have any questions for us? We're just kind of wrapping up.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
It's always hard to talk to people, but I think just putting it out there is always good.
I will say the more you do it, the easier it is. And the longer you go without doing it, the harder it is. So it's, I mean, just like anything, like the more you do it, it doesn't seem so scary. So after a lot of years, like I have a lot of sponsoring conversations, and I've kind of figured out like what verbiage works best for me and what I feel most comfortable saying to people. So it's just a matter of practicing, and I'm totally the person that talks to myself. Like I talk to myself in the car, I talk to myself in the shower. I like, whenever I'm like driving to a trunk show, I'm always practicing my group hello in the car ride. So I spent a lot of time having fake sponsoring conversations with myself to figure out what felt most comfortable to me to say to other people. And it seriously helped. So if you're one of those people that likes to talk to yourself, don't be afraid to have fake sponsoring conversations with yourself to figure out what feels most genuine. Because there is a lot of people that will say certain things. I'm like, I couldn't say that. That doesn't sound like me. That sounds totally fake. But finding out what feels most comfortable to you to say to other people about doing this with you, you'll figure it out the more you do it. And you'll get a lot of no's, and that's okay. I very rarely get the hell no's. Most of the time I get, like if I get a no, most of the time it's like, I'm so flattered you thought of me, but no. Which, that's a compliment. I'll take that. And they'll take it too. So, okay, does anybody have anything else? Do you guys have any like specific words to say you want to go over, or anybody that you're talking to about hosting or sponsoring, or who to reach out to?
No.
Yeah. Easy group tonight. Okay. Well, we'll finish pretty much on time. That never happens. I always talk for way too long. So, all right, ladies, that's it. Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording.